Hello, my friends, and welcome to another First Chapter Fridays. So today, sun's a little bright in here today. Today we're going to do Waiting for Normal by Leslie Connor. Chapter 1, Tim Box on a Tar Patch. Maybe Mommers and I shouldn't have been surprised. Dwight had told us it was a trailer even before we packed our bags. But I pictured one of those parks, like up on Route 50. I thought trailers were always in trailer parks. I expected a little grass patch out in front, daisy-shaped pinwheels stuck in the ground, one of those white shorty fences with a garden gnome. Dwight crossed traffic and pulled the truck up over the curb. When he stopped, Mommer's head bumped against the window. "What are we doing here?" she asked. I watched Dwight's face for the answer. Dwight is my stepfather. Well, he's really my ex-stepfather, since he and Mommer split for good. That was 2 years ago. It's best to know right from the beginning that my family is hard to follow. It's like a road that keeps twisting and turning. But Dwight had always told me that there'll be no X between you and me, Addie girl, and I believed him. I said, "What are we doing here?" Mommers repeated. "This is the place," Dwight mumbled. Mommer sat up. She opened her eyes wide and looked out the front windshield. Then she screamed, "Dwight, you've got to be kidding me! This is the city!" Dwight leaned away from her, protecting his ear in that quiet way that he's got about him. He told Mommers, "Come on, Denise, let's not go over it again. You know this is all I've got left. You can move out here or go to Jack's place." He slid out of the truck. Mommers swung her door open so hard it came back at her. She kicked it and it whined on the hinge. "I can't live with Jack." She was talking about my grandfather on my father's side. I call him Grandio. That's his grandpa name, which my father taught me to say a long time ago. That's about all my father had time to teach me. He died when I was barely 3. I've always kind of felt like my father gave me Grandio, or tried to anyway. That he left him to me, so I'd have as much family as possible. The thing is, he also kind of left Grandio to Mommers, too. I've never seen two people who wanted less to do with each other. "I hate Jack," Mommers hollered at Dwight, "and I hate you." "I know," Dwight said, as if he'd had to accept that a long time ago. I unfolded myself from the back of the cab where I'd been squashed in the little jump seat and slipped down to the ground. Dwight lifted our bags out of the back of his truck and handed Mommers a key. "Go in and have a look. We can work on it some if you want," he said, "and the computer is for you and Addie." He tried to say this with a hopeful note in his throat. Dwight always did that. But Mommers threw the key down as hard as she could. It hit the ground with a tiny ringing sound like a little chime. "I suppose you want me to overflow with gratitude," she cried. "I get a cruddy tin box for a house and a dinosaur for a computer. Lucky me. What about the duplex, Dwight? You could have given me that." "The duplex is gone to pay for the house, Denise." Dwight kept his lips in a line. Mommers kicked at her own overstuffed suitcase. Then she said all kinds of other things that I won't mention, but boy, did I hear some language. Dwight walked away from her. That might have seemed mean to anyone who happened to be watching that day, but I really didn't blame him. He had my little sisters to think of. Half-sisters, that is. They're Dwight's kids. I'm not. Like I said, my family is full of twists and turns. He leaned down and gave me a shaky hug. I squeezed him back and swallowed hard. He whispered into my shoulder, "I'm sorry, Addie girl." Then he looked at me in the eye and said, "I'll be around. You know that." I nodded. "And you'll bring Brianna and Kate, right?" "Of course, as often as I can." "Then it'll be all right," I said, and I faked a big old smile. Dwight got back into his truck and raised a hand to wave goodbye. Then he turned the wheels away from us, and with a screech and a lurch, he was out of there. I stood next to Mommers, both of us looking at the trailer. The thing was dingy and faded, but I could tell that it had once been the color of sunshine, and it was plunked down on a few stacks of cinder blocks on the corner of Freeman's Bridge Road and Knott Street in the city of Schenectady. Maybe? I don't know how you say that. In the state of New York. It was a busy corner, medium busy, I'd say. Only a patch out front was the tarry blacktop bubbling up in the heat of the late summer afternoon. No pinwheels, no garden gnome. "Can you believe this, Addison?" Mommer said. She stared at the trailer door. "That reprobate." "Reprobate?" I said. "That's one from my vocabulary book." "Yeah, Addie, and the definition, you just write Dwight." She fell in a heap and started to cry. I stooped down beside Mommers and gave her shoulder a pat and tried to get her to look at me, but she wouldn't. Then a little flash of silver caught my eye, and I reached down and picked up the key. All right. Addie is waiting for normal, but Addie's mom has an all-or-nothing approach to life. A food fiesta or an empty pantry, jubilation or gloom, her way or no way. All or nothing never adds up to normal. All or nothing can't bring you all to home, which is exactly where Addie longs to be with her half-sisters every day. In spite of life's twists and turns, Addie remains optimistic. Someday, maybe, she'll find normal. All right, if you are interested in Waiting for Normal, it is in our realistic fiction section. See you next week.